and
I just bought a
torches
ton.
and
I bought an
lanterns.
absolute ton. Yeah, yeah.
Oh
I
my
love that
god.
this early in the wipe, we're already back to legacy.
Dude, they gotta do something. They had to like figure out a system so they could get rid of this legacy stuff for future patches because this is gonna be a recurring theme.
Occultist boots will be a topic of discussion, no doubt. Welcome,
Yeah.
everyone, to episode 7 of the Hold the Line podcast. You are joined,
Hello.
as always, by our intrepid hosts, Josh, a.k.a. Mr. So Bad Strange, Nate, a.k.a. Ken Nabi, and myself, Scott, a.k.a. Arcane Armor. Guys, we got a lot to talk about today. We've got we've got a full patch, and we got the hot fix that just occurred, 30 minutes ago? 50 minutes ago now. So where do we want to start? Where do we begin?
So I think we should start with the big patch, right, and then work our way towards the most recent hotfix.
I like that. We might be able to interweave as well, considering all the merchant changes that are heading our way with the hotfix plus Jack-o'-lantern. There's a lot. This is a good time for a
Yeah,
podcast, boys.
there's a lot to
No
go
doubt.
over. So maybe let's just go down the line. Maybe we just talk about one of our favorite things from the big patch
Okay,
Tuesday.
okay. I like that.
Yeah, sorry you so bad. You sound excited.
I mean, there's
Your
so
favorite
many.
thing.
I definitely want to start with Warlock, but I think we should kind of get into the classes a little bit later. So, just favorite thing from the patch is the inclusion of something that's worth finding in the dungeon that isn't strictly RNG. I can go to HR Goblin, I can get Spider Silk, I can go to Ruins and get Wolf Pelts. There's the inclusion of the ability to craft, to me, is like 80% of the way to questing. And if that's what questing is going to feel like, where if I go get something and I bring it back, I'm rewarded. I love that. That is great. And I love that that's now in Dark and Darker. It's a
Yeah, I agree.
beautiful feature.
Just to clarify, you're like talking about like the crafting system and
Hmm.
like going to other dungeons and like finding cool. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
That for me is actually my favorite part as well. I do like the early iteration of the crafting system. Obviously, we've had Ruby Silver and stuff in the past, but now they're really expanding on it, and they definitely are showing that they plan on expanding on it more in the future. And I'm a huge fan of it. Today, I thought about queuing up for ruins for once. I hate ruins. I don't like going to ruins, but I thought about it today. I was like, I kind of want to go farm some wolf pelt, and that's good. That we want people thinking like that. So yeah, the crafting changes big depth in my opinion. What about you, Arcane? What are you liking so far?
100% agree with that. Well, I was going to say I'd really like the changes to the vendors, although with the latest hotfix notes, that may be kind of short-lived. We'll see. I don't feel like having epics in there wasn't the most important part. I thought that was nice. I mean, there was maybe one per vendor that I saw. I don't know if you guys saw more than that, but I felt like there was only one purple at a time in each vendor. And usually the rolls were pretty poor on what I found. And it was still expensive. I felt like the levels that you're going to care the most about having access to purple in the vendors are going to obviously be 1 to 14. And if you're only getting one every 30 minutes, the chances that you're going to get what you want are pretty slim. And if you do find something that's halfway decent, you still got to pay out the nose for it. I mean, a lot of people, I'd say your average gamer's not rolling in dough, and 250 gold from level 1 to 14 is a pretty hefty price to pay, right? So when in this latest hotfix notes, when they just came out and they said, we're taking epics away, I don't feel like that's a huge game changer as long as they don't change the rest of it. If the rest of it stays relatively the same to what we've had for the last couple days, then I'd say that's the biggest W. Just having access to all the items in the vendors is huge. Absolutely huge.
Yeah, I love the vendor changes. Like seeing them kind of backtrack and remove the epics from it makes no sense to me. I think like most of the time I would see some good epics and I'd be like, it's 250 gold. Okay, that makes sense. That's usually what I would buy it for on the marketplace. Like
Right.
a decently rolled epic, I'd buy it for 250
Yep.
to like
Right.
350 sometimes. And I think it's healthier for the economy to be buying them from the vendors because it gets that gold out of circulation. It's a gold sink. Like instead of just recycling it back into other players and just trading
Right.
from player to player.
Mhm.
So I feel like them taking him off the market was unnecessary. I think it's a big, little bit of an L. But
Well,
overall, I do like the market changes.
agreed. The only thing I'll say is that I believe the real reason they took it off is because they're adding the Jack-o'-lantern event vendor back. And so, do we want epics absolutely everywhere, or do we want candy to actually have good value again? So if we get candy as a drop, and then that vendor has our epic weapons and our epic armor, then now we have the sort of
If you're getting the Invis Barbarian with the Hydra, that was really funny.
God,
Actually,
the Hydra is
that
so
was sick.
good.
I like Flame Walk is my favorite ability.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's my new go-to. We were doing some haste and Viz Flame Walk shenanigans yesterday, or like you just Flame Walk and you just phantomize through an entire team. The damage is kind of low on it, but it's just such a cool ability, and like you could
It
zone
is.
people off, and I don't know,
Yeah.
it's my personally my favorite ability. My only dislike with the Warlock is I don't I mean that's not really a dislike, but how cool the Ray of Darkness ability is versus how weak it is. It's like the coolest ability that they have where you just shoot a beam while moving, but it does nothing.
It
I'm
does
like,
nothing.
if you just made it useful, this will be the coolest ability in the game, hands down. So that was kind of like a dud for me.
Do
But
you
I'm
think
sure
it
they might
ramps though? Because I haven't used it that
I
much.
tested it. It doesn't ramp. Maybe it
It
scales
doesn't
very
ramp.
well. Maybe it scales way better than I think.
Yeah, like I was just thinking if you had really high will and very high true magic damage, maybe it would just obliterate like Cyclops.
Like old locust swarm or something.
Yeah.
Some dumb scale.
Just straight melting.
Yeah.
Also with the Hydra yesterday when I was on duos with Nazori and Ruins, I would place the Hydra inside of an open door and then he would chain lightning it and we just called that the Hydra coil.
Mhm.
And he was killing all kinds of people. Like you
Yeah.
always have something to bounce off, even if there's no corpses or if you can't see them.
I think that's a little busted. I think I was doing
That
that
is
too. I think it's a little. I think that
yeah.
might be a chain lightning issue because I think chain lightning just shouldn't go through terrain or through walls. I think they should have
Mhm.
line of sight on people to hit them. So maybe that's a chain lightning issue, not a Hydra issue. But that tactic, I think, is a little too strong. And I think
It's
once people
really
start catching on
strong.
to it, yeah, it's going to be
Yeah. It's
oppressive.
gonna be abused for sure. Because you see them, you throw a Hydra toward them, you're still out of range of most things.
Mhm.
Chain lightning goes, especially if they're in a room,
Or if they're just
you're
behind a
just dead.
door,
Yeah, you're
yeah,
just like there's
they,
not a
they,
lot
they,
of
they have no idea. They can't see what you're doing. Next thing you know, they're dead to chain lightning.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've already seen a ton of barbarians as the, barb Tesla coil, and now you're gonna have the Hydra coil.
Mm.
Yep.
What about
But
you, Arcane? Have you messed with Warlock at all?
Oh yeah. That was the first thing I messed around with. I think I just went from like 1 to 2, and then I actually, after geeking out a ton, really digging the Warlock, I switched back to Bard, which we'll circle back to. But so I got the Warlock. I ended up getting the Warlock to 12 and really enjoyed the ride. One of the coolest things about the class, I think the combination of perks and spells that they have right now really allows for a lot of different play styles. Like the dark magic path versus the primary Curse of Pain Hydra combo, especially when you don't have the memory points to run all 5 spells. I think it forces you to kind of choose almost a subclass of the Warlock where they're whether you're going dark magic or more curse oriented. I love the Hydra. I think everything about that's cool. I didn't even think about the chain lightning part, but Josh, I was watching your stream earlier and you were using that extremely effectively. Saw a couple Warlock battles. It's just really cool. It adds a whole new dimension to the game and I've been loving it. Absolutely loving it.
Definitely a big W change. It probably didn't get some nerfs, but I think the let us ride it out for a bit and feel it out. But I think overall, I think it is a little overtuned. I think Warlock was already on the cusp of being very powerful or like almost overpowered last playtest. If Curse of Pain were just a little bit more reactive or more reliable to hit, like mathematically, that ability is like the biggest HP swing in the game.
yeah.
If you think about it, it does like 30 flat with 20 ticks. That's like 50 damage, and then you're healing for like 60 to 100 sometimes. So it's like a 200 health swing in one direction, just with one instant cast rate with no resource management. So if you think of it like that, mathematically, that ability is kind of broken with like the right gear.
And now it's super easy to hit. Well, maybe not super easy to hit, but it's a lot easier to hit than it was. Yeah.
And they have an entire kit on top of it now.
Right.
Like, we haven't even
There's
talked
too
about
much.
Eldritch Shield. Eldritch Shield is insane, by the way.
Yes.
Have you used Eldritch Shield?
Yeah.
So
So,
it makes it impossible for a wizard to kill a warlock ever. I played both ends of the matchup. I played a lot of warlock versus wizard. I played wizard versus warlock. If they're good with Eldritch Shield, it's a 40 HP shield that costs 5 HP to cast, and it's like it's unlimited. So basically, you're gonna sit there spamming Eldritch Shield and just infinitely tanking like a wizard zaps or his fireballs or whatever spells he's shooting at you, and just infinitely tank him and get a damage buff every time he breaks your shield. It's crazy. Obviously, it's a very niche situation. It's a magic fighter versus a magic fighter, but it's like applicable in a lot of matchups, but specifically in the wizard versus warlock matchups, that ability is so
Right.
strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, or
Especially
Warlock
if
v
you're running
Warlock.
Crystal Ball Falchion, you're standing right in front
Yeah.
of the wizard. Yeah. I mean, that's
Mhm.
disgusting. Yeah.
hmm yeah, Warlock versus Warlock the Mirror. It makes like the fights last forever, which I do like long fights, don't get me wrong, but that makes the fights actually last forever. I don't think a geared Warlock versus a geared Warlock could ever end if they're both playing well. I think.
You really have to push the melee, but earlier, so I've had my first Warlock v Warlock, like Ultra, Voldemort versus Dumbledore duel, and it went the distance. He got pushed by a barb. He like insta-killed the barb, healed from his Hydra. He kept Hydra pressuring me. I pushed a melee, blow of corrupted him in the head. He phantomized, ran away, got all his health back. Like it went all the way around the map. It was absolutely crazy. And I agree, it's like overtuned in the sense that it could basically never end. Like someone has to push the melee and somebody has to make a mistake. But maybe that's what's supposed to happen in like the higher tiers of gear. But speaking of long fights, how about the stat squish? I have felt so far that this is, in my opinion, the best wipe we've ever had. All the fights feel way fairer and way longer.
Mhm.
It's also very capable to take down people who outgear you now. And in general, the majority of players I kill now have greens. Like everyone has some mix of like magic and uncommon gear. It's not just like nakeds everywhere like it used
I
to
think
be.
I think it's the vendors too, right? I think a lot of people are
Mhm.
just getting stuff from vendors that's like very easily accessible, and it's like even though it's not like the best gear in the world, they are buying stuff off vendors and wearing it and bringing it to the dungeon, and that's good. But to kind of touch on like your time to kill speech there, I am loving the time to kill. I think it still needs some work. I think some classes are still a little one-shotty, i.e., barbarians with wormholes, but that's a separate issue. Overall, generally, I think the time to kill squish is great. I've been loving having these super long, drawn-out fights. It's a lot of fun. There's like a
Mhm.
lot of third parties where like I see people fighting for 30 seconds and I get over and I get involved and then maybe I die and they're still fighting when I'm spectating. I'm like, these fights are lasting forever and it's great. But to
Yep.
kind of like to touch on the other end of that, I if Iron Mace, I've been talking about this for a while. If Iron Mace like wants these fights to be longer and drawn out and they really want to slow down the game, they really have to make these matches last longer. I feel like
Mhm.
you can't like have the goal to slow down gameplay, make fights last longer, and then eventually have quests on top of that, but have 12-minute matches.
Right.
If you look at a game, I was compared to Tarkov. If you look at a game like
Mhm.
Tarkov, like the shortest match in Tarkov is like 20 minutes. Like I think customs
Yep.
are like 25, and some of the longest ones are 45, 50 minutes. I'm not saying we go that long, but I think we need more time to actually like play the match correctly and slow and
Yep.
methodically. Like I think we could start with 15 minutes. We could even go up to 20
Yep.
maybe. I'm not sure, but I think going forward we definitely should expand the match time.
So that's a great point. One of the patch notes was that they were adjusting the way the circle traveled, and I think they said they added an extra one, right? Basically, their concern was that players were having to travel too far based on where the circle was generating and they were being pushed by the storm. I haven't seen any difference. In fact, I feel like it's been worse in some scenarios where that first circle is coming so fast. Like when I started that warlock yesterday, was it my rogue? I played a lot of games. I can't remember which one. At any rate, I started and I was just trying to clear like the first room. And by the time I was done with the first room, the circle was on me and I couldn't see it on the mini map anymore. It was
Mhm.
completely off. I had no idea which direction to go in. And it was like, man, if they changed it, I don't think they'd hit the knobs right because it still
Yeah.
feels a little rough. So I'm with you. I think going to 15 minutes would be a huge improvement. And on a related topic, how do you feel about the lobby size changes?
I don't like that.
I
I always think more players in a game is always better. I think, especially with them increasing the map size and high roller specifically. I think if we can get 20 people in a map, 25, I think that just makes for crazier games, which is ultimately awesome. And people just want to have these crazy fights. I even Goblin Kids. I played Goblin Kids for the first time, not for the first time, but like for the first time, like seriously yesterday. And I was like, man, I kind of wish there was 9 people in here or more, because like I'm just not running into people and it's kind of lame. But
Okay, I'm on
yeah, what do you
the
think?
opposite end. Yeah, I think it's the perfect size. Every match that I've played, I've run into one or two groups and trios. Typically at the end, we sometimes get a three-way fight. Goblins is going to be a little different because they introduce a lot of the high roller modules into Goblin,
Mm-hmm.
and then they mix the map up a ton. And so everyone's trying to relearn that, and a lot of people are still dying to circle and PvE. I agree with Scott. We got to adjust the dials, and you Nate, like we need to maybe increase the time a little bit. I feel like they added another layer of the circle, but didn't put more time on the clock. And so like you're, if anything, like it's moving faster. Like the circle moves almost quicker. Plus,
Right.
now
Maybe
that it
that's what it
pulls,
is. Yeah.
the other thing is there's certain modules of Goblin, especially for my solo players. I think they can commiserate. Certain modules, if you don't spawn with the circle, you're pretty much just dead if you're not geared. Like you have to scythe through like 6 flying monsters, like 2 bolas and an archer and like 3 goblins. And now the shaman is stronger than ever, especially in HR.
I saw that
And
earlier. The machine
that thing
gun.
is I can't even. But
That
like
was
that
great.
makes it really challenging. And so one of the reasons you might not be seeing players in Goblin and why you think 7 is too little is because that map is hard now. It was already hard and now it is really hard and it's very randomized. And so anybody dropping in there without heals is probably not going to make it even out of their box, let alone all the way to the center of the map or wherever the circle goes.
Right.
But
To
I like
reiterate,
the
I am
Mhm.
seeing people in Goblin. I was exaggerating a little bit. I just
Yeah,
maybe it's just like the crazy person in me. I just like insane, crazy situations.
same.
If I can get just
Hmm.
wild fights and like getting third party, fourth party, fifth party in like a fight and somehow come out on top. And not always. Like most of the time, I'm dying when I get third party. But I just like being in those weird, unique situations instead of it just be like all right, I'm in a high roller with 3 other squads. Okay, we're gonna 1v1 this squad and then we're gonna 1v1 this squad. And it gets very stale after a while. It's a lot of the same stuff. Whereas when you have more people in a small map, the situations get crazy and you get more unique, wild scenarios. Maybe so.
It's tough.
I might be a hot take. I might be like an
Yeah,
outlier
that's kind
here.
of a hot take.
No, I
Yeah.
get it. I get it completely, but it is a balancing act. I'm definitely more in line with
Mhm.
where Josh is, especially at the earlier levels, because I feel like there is a certain cadence to the game where you shouldn't have to worry every single game about being spawn rushed, especially this early in the wipe. And making the maps a little bit bigger, rotating them. I absolutely love that they did this rotation and mix and match, and they're throwing everything in so that it's just not the same repetitive goblin caves over and over again. It is the same repetitive ruins, but I have no doubt that they're going to do some variation of that.
Mhm.
Crypts now is just incredible. Like I'm not even pulling up the maps. I used to have it where I'd have all of the maps on a map on each Google tab on one monitor, Discord on the other, and then my main monitor's running the game. And as the first thing I would do when I load into the game is go up and select the right tab, make sure I've got everything on there that I want to see, and I'd use that as a point of reference, right? Now I'm just enjoying it so much. I haven't pulled up the maps once since the patch yesterday, and I'm just trying to learn them visually before I go back and then start
Mhm.
pulling stuff up. Plus, I figured the Spells and Guns wiki probably isn't up to date anyway. But yeah, I'm digging it 100%. I think less people is good for now, but maybe a way to kind of balance that out, Ken, to kind of scratch that itch will be more geared towards the competition oriented scene, right? Like if they end up doing, well, shoot, that's another topic of conversation, the Troubadour tournament coming up, but it seems
Mhm.
like they do have an appetite for that, and maybe we'll
Mhm.
see that kind of balance out, because I do think the new player experience, the casual players, the low level players, generally I'm not wanting to get into a chaotic, you know, 9-man fight if I'm relatively low on gear and I'm just trying to get out alive with whatever little loot I've collected. But later in the wipe,
I
I would
understand.
agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, like the better you are at the map, like I'm already starting to feel like because I spent so much time in HR Goblin. Now, at first, I was very confused by Goblin. I was moving slow. I was dying a lot. But I do feel like it's still memorizable, and eventually you're gonna spawn rush. It's just right now, even me as a veteran player who's kind of blood hungry sometimes, I feel like depending where I spawn, I'm like I'm just gonna like this box is gonna have more loot than a player's gonna have. Like I can just like the vermin box has so much loose loot on the ground with all like the
That's the other thing.
spiders and
That's
the
a good
bats.
point.
And so I can just like slope clear and then probably I'll see 1 or 2 players, but I also feel like in an 8 or 10 minute match, 1 or 2 full loot PvP kills is still like vastly superior to most other games I've ever played.
Hmm.
And so like a little bit slower for PKing, I think is good for everybody. Maybe
I
not
agree.
like at the highest echelons, but I haven't really done too much HR, especially trios. But I'm with Arcane. I thought Crypts, is the biggest and best change we've ever had. The whole map is huge. You just wander in a direction, and if you know what the boxes look like, you're like, oh, there's a champion over in that module. Like, we'll go over there. But like, I don't need the map anymore. I just kind of move around. Like, I just play the game, and if we run into a squad, we're gonna fight. But I don't have to like hard charge anywhere, which I really
Do we
like.
know how many maps there are for crypts? Like how many different layouts? Does anyone know off the top? It's a lot though. I know every time I load it, I'm
It's
like, this is a different layout, and it's cool because I know originally they wanted it to be like RNG, randomly
Mm,
generated,
right.
like random modules, and I think they were having trouble getting that in place. But like what they could do is just make 50 different layouts and just have a cycle, and it will feel generated because there's so many
Right.
different modules,
Yep.
and
mhm.
give the illusion of that. And that's kind of looks like the direction they're going in, and I do like it. And I am liking the freshness of it because it was kind of lame last season where you just knew the entire map. You load in, you're like, oh,
Mhm.
I got this spawn, and I know X, Y, and Z. These spawns are near me. Let's rush them. And I never liked that style of gameplay. I much
Yep.
rather just load in, not know where anybody else is, and just play the map more organically. And that's kind of feels
Right.
like where we're
Yeah.
at. And I feel like
Yep.
if you slow the game down a little more, you could do that even more so. And if you make that a little bit bigger, it's even better. But yeah, no, overall, the map changes are good. I just a little nitpick. I'm not liking how many traps they're putting into the
I
map.
agree. Yes,
This,
please. Why
because
aren't they
because
on the
like
map?
well, there are like some like rooms with lots of traps. Okay, these are the cancer rooms. I'm gonna stay away from these. And you have a couple of good rooms where you're like, all right, I'm gonna try and take fights in these rooms because I know there's some open space. There's not a million traps
Mhm.
everywhere. There's not that many mobs, and they're like, we see that these players like these rooms. Let's add 7 more wall spikes to this room and another floor, and throw some dragonflies and some crossbow skeletons because we cannot have one room where it's just easy because this is a hardcore game, baby.
Yeah, let's tone
Hello,
those
Chris.
crosses down again. Like they, especially in Goblin,
Oh
they put them in
gosh,
like a
man.
jail cell that can shoot in like a 360 around it, but the circle, like the squares are so small that like I can't even hit with curses. Like I just ignore it now. I'm like, I don't know. Either I'm dead here, or I'm just gonna leave. Like it's really toxic sometimes. It's almost like Dark Souls, where like you're just dead from like a wall spike in the head and then a cross, and you're like, okay, I'm
I
not
think
sure
they
if I
they
learned
they,
anything
they
on that one.
accidentally
Yeah.
buffed the skeleton because I think when so they were okay. They tuned them down at the beginning of early access, but then they did the crossbow changes, like to the actual player in game crossbow, and I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure it accidentally
Ugh.
translated to the
Yeah.
AI. I think
Yeah.
it's unintentional. I think it's 100% unintentional that
You're
now these
probably
crossbow
right.
skeletons have
Mhm.
30% armor pen on their crossbows, and they are doinking people.
Mm,
And yeah, I think it was an accident. I don't even think they know about it, but us as the players, we are feeling it. It's strong.
Yeah.
yeah.
100%.
Yeah, but
So for
also
the
So
rooms, closely related. Sorry, Josh, but let's tie a
no,
bow
please.
on map related topics here. Adding the location names at the bottom. One, I love the way they did it just from the UI perspective is perfect. But adding that is a game changer, especially when you're introducing all of these different map variants into the rotation. It's so nice to be able to call out the room by its actual dev given name. I'm a big fan
Okay,
of that change.
I like the names on the map, but this is gonna sound maybe a little bit arrogant, but we've already had a bunch of community ran tournaments, and we've already been playing the game. A lot of
You don't
us
like the
full
names they've
time
given them.
dedicated. Some of those names are awful. Why didn't they consult like let's say the
I,
rank one
dude,
Discord or the sweat Discord?
they don't call Foursquare Foursquare, bro.
Why isn't it Foursquare? Like
It's
that is
everybody
universal.
calls it
That
Foursquare.
is Foursquare.
It's
Like get
four
off me.
squares.
And a couple of them don't even make sense. I'm like, oh great, I'm in Mummy Chest. That's a cool tactical name. I can't wait for the tournament when I'm shoutcasting to be like, all right, they've made it to the Mummy Chest room. That's octopus. Like
Yeah,
it's got 8 tentacle legs coming off it. That's octopus. But I'm
yeah.
sure we'll adapt and get used to it. But and then just to put a little tiny little extra ribbon on top, I, for the first time with the recent crypt changes, understand why we could move the Lich and Ghost King and Warlord into crypt and make the bottom layer the Kuma Dragon Raid. Because with how big crypt is and how random the rooms are, that could lead to a boss fight. And if you get there fast enough and you boss rush, you could do it. Before I always thought no way because everybody would just rush you down. It would be awful. Like I figured they were going to put it in treasure room where the wraith and the skeleton champion and sort of those two like gold chests are. But now I think they could put a boss in there.
Maybe.
Hmm.
Maybe certain layouts, or if the maps were bigger, and if there was more time, I could see that. But
Mhm.
I could also see them not doing that, and it'd be fine. What have they alluded to doing that somewhere in the past?
Yeah, they said that they wanted to put that in the top layer, and they wanted the bottom layer to be the dragon. That's a quote. That's a depth quote.
I mean, they can make it work. I don't know.
I
I was
like.
just thinking about it. I could definitely see it being cool, but also seeing it being terrible. And like you're previously talking about the frustration of getting third party and stuff.
Mhm.
And if you have boss fights on tier 1 with 16 other players, there's going to be a lot of third partying, which I'm cool. That sounds great to me. But I like the chaos. I love the chaos.
The chaos. Well,
Yeah.
the other thing is every other map already has that. Like Goblin has Troll available to be third party nonstop, and it's loud. And now Ruins has Golems and Gold Ore together, and so that is also loud. I don't know how much Ruins you guys have played, but those are hot spots that are always PvP enabled. The both
Mm.
Golem and Gold Ore is like you're getting killed if you don't look
Where's the
around
golem
first.
at? So I played Ruins
Yeah,
several
I
times,
haven't
but
played
I
it.
haven't found him.
There's
Where's he
two.
at?
There's one where the old worm used to be. It can either be worm or golem. And then there's another one that's over by the res shrine, sort of underneath. It's one box over from mid, where there's the broken bridge and the two staircases like leading up.
Yeah, yeah.
He's back there.
Okay.
Okay. Nice.
Mhm.
Got any good loot off of him? Have you killed him?
Yeah,
I haven't done much of it yet.
Yeah, I soloed him a bit. He's got decent loot. He can drop some blues, like multiple stacks of blues. Worm is terrible at it. Like Worm is horrible. Worm is a lot of effort, and it's also a very loud fight, and it drops like gray shoes or like a cracked bangle.
Not
And
anymore.
I know he drops a key, so like you could get a key, but I don't know. Like that one feels bad. I've probably killed it 100 times. I've gotten one key and then mostly grays.
Until the game
Okay.
comes
Like
back.
he's a mini
according to
boss.
is he considered a sub boss? Because under the new rules, he'll be good again.
Oh, did it say sub bosses will have colored loot?
Mm-hmm. Pretty sure.
Oh, well, then he's probably gonna get boosted
Fantastic.
because I think that is a sub boss. I mean, he's where the golem is, so like, yeah. Also, Centipede. Just quick note: Centipede is
Yeah,
so
sub
strong
boss.
now. They did a great job with Pede. He is violent and dangerous.
Getting after it.
Yeah.
Have you done much crypt bossing yet, Sobad or Arcane?
I'm not. No, been down to hell a few times, but we didn't try to tackle the lich. It was in basically default gear, so we weren't about.
I'm not sure about high roll, but I know for normals they get rid of the gold pile at the end of the boss.
Mhm.
That it now just a marvelous chest. I kind of like it.
I like it.
I think it is healthier for the economy overall. Initially, I was like, this kind of sucks because like we're spending 100 gold for high roller, we're going down, we're killing a boss, and we're losing money still somehow because there's no gold pile. But I think overall, I think it will
Oh,
be
wait.
better for the economy.
Wait, what? HR bosses also don't have a gold pile?
So wait, I actually know I died the only time I did the HR boss. So I don't know. It
Okay.
is, sorry, chat's correcting me. It is an HR, so it's only normal. So you can't farm the gold pile of normals.
Yeah, well, I
Which
kind of
think
like
that's good.
it. Also, like now with the stat squish, it takes longer to fight the boss, and it takes longer to get to the boss. Plus, the circle changes mean you typically have less time to fight it. I like that. I'm like, okay, we got the boss. Let's just hit that marvelous chest. Plus, there's a little bit of loose loot. It's more like Troll. Like I really like when the boss is dead that you open a door and it's like a nice little bit of treasure, like one or two chests, some loose loot, and then you're out. Because like the less time you spend there, the less time you can get third partied, and it's already a very risky fight. But yeah, I've done a couple normal bosses. I've liked all of them except Warlord. I think he's still way too strong. In the patch notes, they said they fixed the animation of the Royal Guards. I don't know what that did. Like they still throw daggers almost instantly and armor pierce and teleport and kill you. That boss is so hard. I mean, I've been wiping for weeks.
Yeah, not a big fan. I think it's very comp dependent because like if you're like a comp that has like a good fighter with a shield, it's like super easy. But then if you're just a comp that doesn't have a shield, it's like impossible. So it's
Mhm.
so comp dependent, and that's
Yeah.
not good. I don't think.
It's just
And
nonstop kiting.
yeah,
Yeah.
they definitely got to do something about that boss fight, especially if they want to add more boss fights in the future. I kind of miss the old magma boss. Remember that one from
I
like
love that
Fight Test
boss.
2?
Yeah.
I mean, it was
That's got to be
buggy and
coming
kind of
back.
weird, but like
Yeah.
those assets were. It looked very visually cool, and it was
It
a really
was
cool
cool.
fight. I'm like, they'll probably bring it back at some point if it's the hell theme too. So
Like,
I'm sure we'll
you know
see it.
what? I could see that being with Kuma. Like Kuma's in the middle of like a lava like island, and then there's the lava elementals around him, and you gotta like kind of like that would be sweet.
It would be cool if like maybe in hell, just like a random thought, if like they had multiple bosses at like random corners of the map, and like you had to choose
Mm.
where you wanted to go, or like where the circle was ending, would be like, oh, we're gonna go, we got this boss this time because the circle's going top left. We're gonna fight Magma Man, or oh, we're in the Ghost King quarters, like old Naxxramas and WoW or some shit. I don't know. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
This is a random, like, random thought. Maybe it's an off idea, but
But
if
I'm
they want
glad
to like,
we're like
so,
all on the same page with all of this, especially like the positivity and optimism. Because I've seen, especially in the Sweat Discord, a lot of grumbling about the gear changes and
oh, I can get
people
negative.
saying like, "Oh, I don't want to like. There's no gear to chase anymore." Like artifacts are still best in slot, and you're still gonna slaughter people. It's just now they have a chance.
I disagree with the gear. People have been complaining about like gear being weak. I'm like, no, it's just
Mhm.
different.
Mhm.
It's more about rarity and correct base types instead of like really correct RNG rolls, and that ultimately is good because now you want a
Mhm.
rarity chase. Now you want to do a high roller. Now you want to do bosses and sub bosses and get epics and legendaries of the right base type instead of just getting lucky on some green rolls. Because like my Biss last playtest was just +3 magic damage, green padded leggings, and it didn't matter if they were green, if they were blue, if they were epic. It didn't matter if they had +3 magic damage. That was my Biss. And but
Mhm.
now it's like now I want to get some epic padded leggings and some epic leather leggings and some leather gloves. Now I have choices now because of the base type changes, and I like that.
Agreed.
I don't know. Like my chat is all like spamming that they're adding back in +2 and 3 all. I don't think that's true. I think when they
So
said they're adding back random, they're adding back more randomization and more stat rolls. I don't think that's going to be part of all.
yeah, the words in the patch notes there was something about all
It is
attributes, but
confusing.
yeah, it was very
They,
ambiguous.
they meant that they're changing all of the attribute rolls. They're not adding back in +2 and 3 all
That's
adds.
what I thought too. But
They're changing all the modifiers. It's like a bingo, and they're gonna spin it now. And now there's way more coming out. Because currently, when you look at vendor gear, a lot of it is +1 all, and a lot of it is like really good. I think they're just saying that there's gonna be way more modifiers. It's not just gonna all be like good. Because right
I
now,
think
like
so as
almost
well.
any roll is good. It's like PDR, PDB, magic resist, health. I think they're just gonna add a bunch of like random shit again. So at least there's some dead rolls. Because right now, basically every piece of gear is good.
Yeah, but just to like allude to those people talking about if there was +3 all attributes to return back, like if so, like hypothetical situation, if we just went through all of last season with like the +3 and then the taking away of +3 and then like all the legacy issues, for them to just re-drop +3 again
I
in this
know.
season, I
Yeah,
would
it
lose my
would.
mind. I would lose
Yeah,
my
me
mind,
too.
and
Yep.
Mhm.
I am giving Iron Mace the benefit of the doubt here. I
Yep.
have some faith left in you that they are not that dumb because if they do
No, the
this,
Yeah,
I'll
they're
be so
shouldn't.
pissed.
The biggest
No, I
miscommunication is because of the shadow mask. As you pointed out, the higher a piece of gear's rarity is, the higher its base stat is.
Yep, that's great.
Shadow mask is
right.
+1 all, and up near epic and legendary, it has like +3 all. It's not a random attribute that any other piece of gear can have. It's specific to shadow mask. And
Right.
so I think the miscommunication is like, oh, there's a +3 all in the game. It's not a random roll. Like the shadow mask will always
Yeah, it's
have
not an
that.
enchantment.
And they
Right.
balance that really well. That thing has like 4 armor.
Yeah,
So
it's just
you're getting some
specifically at a
stats, but
piece.
you're sacking,
Yeah.
like, that's just part of a new build.
Only rogues and warlocks can use it. There's no
Yeah,
armor
and
on it. It's
I
like a
barely
stat
use
set.
it, to be honest.
I mean, I use it
So
because all attributes is great, but
It's great, but, like, I can get 35 armor and, like, 5 base strength on the
mhm,
Shadow Mask or
mhm.
the Shadow Hood.
Yeah, it's a
So,
are
trade-off
there
for sure.
it's a
legendary?
trade-off.
Are there legendary shadow hoods or masks?
I'm sure there is.
I'm
I
sure
haven't
there
seen
is
any yet.
too.
I'm
Yeah.
guessing
So
they're
that would be
+3.
+4. That would be +4,
Mhm.
wouldn't it? If
Well,
they
aren't
increased
epics
one
only?
per.
No, it's not one per.
Chat's saying, server up. Do we just keep going, boys?
Yeah, we have a little longer here to go,
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
but yeah,
Yeah, Ryan
but
6 days a week says +5 all incoming.
I'm not sure. I guess I think epic shadow masks are only +2 as well. I think it's going up in increments of 2 rarities. I think whites and grays are +1. I think greens and
Okay.
blues are +2. I think epics
And
maybe might be
lead.
+3, and lead might be +3. Maybe I could be wrong here.
Okay.
But some of them isn't, it's definitely not scaling 1 to 1,
Right.
at least for some
Got it.
stuff, and I
That
think
makes
Shadow
sense.
Mask will be busted. If you got +5 on Legendary Shadow Mask, that'd be crazy, and I would
So let
love
me
it, but
read this. Let me read this patch note real quick, just for the benefit
Mhm.
of the folks that may or may not know what we're talking about. I think
Mhm.
this is the one. You guys tell me if I'm wrong on this. The random modifier properties that appear on the colored rarity items have been reverted to give the much larger value range and larger variety,
Mhm.
including the plus all attributes from before the previous patch. This means that checking the rolls for your items means just as much or more than just the color grade of the item.
So I think that means that it'll be like less likely to find that because it's on everything right now. I don't think they're reverting it to legacy. I think they're just reverting the fact that everything won't have it. It's on everything. Like everybody has +1 all now.
It's very, very strangely worded.
That is really strangely worded, but I believe in Iron Mace too. I don't think they're reverting it back to legacy.
Yeah, if they did that, like I said I would be outraged. And
Yeah, I
I
think
just
everybody
I
would.
don't think anybody on this planet. I mean, there's some people on this planet that are that dumb, but not Iron Mace. They can't be that dumb. There's no shot that they are that oblivious to their previous mistake that they would do this again. And
Yeah.
I say that as somebody who complains about them and Barbarian being the strongest thing to be doing for a year straight, and they have to fix Barbarian. Sorry, it's a different rant, but yeah, they learn from their mistakes most of the time, and hopefully
Yep.
this time they will.
Agreed.
So, so we're talking about all these positives, right? A lot of
Mhm.
positives. Pretty W patch the other day,
W
and I
patch
think there's some
and W
L's.
hotfix.
Some L's in this hotfix. Says the rogues are back. The rogues are back, and
Are
I'm a
they?
little worried. No, probably
So-
not. But
Who's back?
the rogues are back.
The Rouge. The Rouges are
Like,
back.
The
I
Rouges.
will admit, rogues were over nerfed. They were over nerfed extremely hard.
A little bit.
And
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, it's been the best week of Dark and Darker because
It's been really nice.
it
Yeah.
has been great. They suck, they are useless, and therefore the rest of the player base is able to play the video game, and it's great.
That is
I
true.
instead of just undoing a lot of the nerfs they did, I would rather them just give rogues
Oh,
something
God.
else and make them better in other directions, not just
People are saying +2 and 3 all is back. They're fighting +2 all on the shop on the spot. Oh, whoa!
Don't believe him. Don't believe him.
+5 magic power.
Don't believe him.
Everett's everyone.
Ah, it's bad.
Well, you know what? Let's.
I did just give Iron Mace a nice speech complimenting them, but
Yeah.
if this is the case, fuck you, Iron Mace. You're stupid. I take it all back.
Wait, so like it's gonna have all its base stats plus +2 all? Like what? They just gotta. They say they got a +3 longsword. What?
They're
We'll
trolling.
see. We'll see. We'll see.
I don't. I hope
We
not.
need receipts.
Well, I hope
They're
so.
trolling.
Yeah. Don't get one guide.
Anyway, let's move past that and we'll figure it out. So that's all good. Jack-o'-lantern is great. We're gonna get candy, which is insane. That used to be the most valuable item in the game, and it could drop in increments of like 8 from a mosquito, and you were like, wow, I just made 140 gold. So I'm pretty excited for that.
Yeah, I think the candy system in like that's a very good way for like value storage. And we saw last season, people were just like buying keys and the key prices got inflated artificially, and that's like not very good for people who just want to run keys. So now that we have like a place where we could store value via candy and like have those candies mean something because you could buy good gear with it, makes a lot more sense. I think that's a good change. I think we definitely felt not having it last season, and it felt very empty not having it. I'm happy it's back. That's
Well,
definitely
now
a good
you got
change.
2 ways,
Oh,
3 ways.
well,
You got candies, coin bags, and coin chests. Although the coin
That's great.
bags and the coin chests are not easy to craft. You got to do a little work. And
Right.
maybe we should save a long form discussion of all the crafting and the recipes and maybe some QOL related things they could do to help on that. But at any rate, yeah, there are 3 ways now that you can avoid having to use keys in the economy or for your currency. Yeah.
I will say, since everyone's talking about +2 all being back, I will say if it's in the shop, it makes it less of an issue. Because before it was only drops and it was only rich players buying it and sucking it all up. If everyone has access to +2 all and it's a shop bought item, if everyone has it, then it's not an issue because everyone's stats will be very close still. The main issue
It's
was
okay
that
if everyone has
the
access to it. I
best
agree.
players had +2 and 3 all, but now if it's a shop bought item, everybody will have it. And then it's like we're only at that point we're stronger against the monsters and we're fairly equal against each other. I don't know, like
That's
the
fine.
vendors have really good stuff. Like I just
Like,
bought a
and said-
+1 all for 30 gold. And it was like a
That-
green tunic.
That's fine if everybody has it, but then what was the whole last season for? Where we had it and they took it away and they just ruined the entire season. Like
Yeah,
that's the part that pisses me off. It's like, okay, if you want to have +3 all, okay, let's fucking have +3 all. But let's just not backtrack after a week and then completely like segregate half the community to having this +3 all gear and the other half of the community not having it, and then just ruining the entire season, making people quit your game just to bring it back the next fucking season. that drives me nuts. It's just that this thinking of that way of thinking drives me insane. Just thinking about it. I,
Now we're gonna have an attribute rant, like we used to have rogue rants.
if it's only
Oh,
plus two, I think plus two is fine. By the way, if plus two all I think makes sense on chest and legs and weapons, and plus one on side pieces makes sense. Like that, I was always in favor of. I think plus three is too much. I think
It
plus
is.
two on side
Yep.
pieces is too much. But like when you had like plus three magic damage and plus two weapon damage, having the choose between that or plus two all, like that was an actual choice. Like they were both
Right.
good in different ways. But like when it was just plus three and everything, it was just better. 100% of the time. Like there
yeah,
was
it
no
was
question.
always better,
It was
100%.
always the best in slot.
Always better, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about things that we don't like since I really originally was like, "Oh, I like everything." But now that I was thinking about the fact that we used to have a rogue rant every week, I feel that Rangers need a little bit more of a nerf, specifically attuned to their traps. That is the only thing that's made me mad so far. I feel like stepping on a trap is still instant death.
Yeah. Well, I think
If
Rangers
they are
actually.
looking at that trap,
Unless
I
you're a
am dead.
warlock and you run
Yeah,
Phantom Eyes.
Rangers minus the traps, I think are actually in a good spot. I think
Mm,
traps have always been an issue, and I always consider a separate issue. I don't like even considering traps as part of Ranger balance because they just don't fit in the game. There just shouldn't
agreed.
be there just shouldn't be a hard CC RNG mechanic that if you're just walking in the wrong area, you die because of it. That's the same argument with rogues. They're them being landmines. These are
Mhm.
actual landmines. If you step in a trap, you die if someone's there, and that's just not good. They should just be a slow with some
Yeah,
damage
slow.
and a
Yep.
loud noise. It shouldn't be
Mhm.
like an instant trap, and if someone's there, you die because of it. Because it creates lots of feel bad moments. I always talk about feel bad moments. You want to remove feel bad moments. Traps are one of them. Getting one
Yep.
shot by longbows was one of them. They get rid of one of those. Like I think Rangers feel pretty balanced minus the traps. I think I like the quick shot changes. I think that
I
was
do too.
I think we suggested this like the other week
Mhm.
about lowering the number of shots based on
Right.
the
Yeah,
weapon
yeah,
class. I think
Type of
Soap brought it
bow.
up.
Right.
Yeah. And I
yeah.
think that
So
was perfect. I could even see them giving survival bows 5 shots because survival bows are so weak. But having longbows shoot twice, having recurve shoot 3 times, and having survival bows shoot 4 times and potentially 5 times if they want to change that, I think that's a good change. I think not getting one shot by Rangers longbows feels great because of
Yep.
the weapon damage change. That feels good.
Oh, they still hurt
Melee,
though. They
they still
still
hurt. You
hurt
you
a
still feel
lot.
them.
Yeah, I got shot by a green bow, and granted, I was in borderline default kit at the time, but one arrow chunked me for more than half my health by a green longbow from across the room, and
mhm.
it's like, okay, I got to run. Like, there's no way I can close the gap with my bard to get to that guy, so I immediately had to abandon the fight. But it's not a complete feel bad moment to your point in that I do
Right.
have options, right? Like if I really want to risk the biscuit, I can charge him and hope that I can put on the schmoves and get to him because I'm a bard and fast. But yeah, the ranger still hits hard. I agree, Ken, wholeheartedly. I think the traps at this point, after playing a little bit of ranger as well, so far I played warlock, ranger, bard, and cleric in this since the patch. Was that yesterday? Was that only yesterday that the patch happened?
Yep.
I guess it was. Man, it seems like longer than that. But yeah. So the
That means you did like an
traps,
all-nighter. I feel
dude.
it.
I took half a day off of work yesterday. I
Yeah.
played for about 9 hours, and then I got a couple hours in today. So yeah, the hunting trap after playing the ranger and watching a couple people just walking through the ruins. This poor little Timmy was running from a mob, and he ran across the trap, and he must have been at like 1 HP because the traps are, unless they're bugged, supposedly only doing 1 HP of damage per
But they're
second, which
bugged. They're bugged.
yeah.
I am taking much more. I am taking much more HP than one. I half out HP'd by a trap yesterday. I was like, okay,
Okay.
this obviously isn't working as intended. But
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely not working.
Once
I like
they
when the
do that,
ranger
that'll be the right
leaves.
change.
Like when the ranger's not even on the map anymore, and then I'm like fighting somebody else, and I hit the trap, and I'm like, okay, and then the other player just kills me, and I'm like, what? Like,
But just to touch more about Rangers. So with the app, like say we live in alternate reality where the traps are fine. How do you feel about Rangers? Do they feel? You think they feel good minus the traps?
yeah, I think there are.
Yeah.
I've like what I've been saying since like 2 wipes ago is that rangers are really strong at mid, long, and close range. Anyway, Let's take the traps away and then or severely nerf them and then see how they feel. I still think you'd have a ton of Rangers playing.
So,
They're
or
still
you
really
make
strong.
you can make them do something different too, just like
Mhm.
not an instant kill. Like, what if you hit a trap and all of a sudden you're bleeding, and now there's a trail of blood, and now they could track you, like something
Yeah.
cool and interesting.
Yes, I like
Bleed
that.
and a snare for like 1 or
Yeah,
2 Like the thing is, if they have a purple recurve or purple longbow, like I'm wearing full blues +1 all, and they hit me with a double or triple shot, I'm almost or I'm dead anyway. Why do they also need like a thing where I'm stuck in place for 20 to 30 seconds? And if I look
yeah.
down to investigate and deal with it, then I'm for sure dead. At least like I could try to cast like a Hydra in the way and then like try to drink my Hydra, but most classes there are just in big trouble.
So
Mhm.
we had
Or
Soapy
like
on the stream last week, who's the Ranger
Mhm.
main, right? Like that's all he plays, period. And he said on the program that he was hoping that the Rangers got nerfed a lot. He saw the patch notes and he's been playing over the last 24 hours. I tuned into his stream. One of the first things I heard him say was, I kind of wish Rangers got nerfed a little bit more. Coming from a Ranger
I
main.
believe it. No, I believe it. I believe it. I said it definitely feels better. It's definitely an improvement. I think they are still very strong. I think they definitely still have a place in the meta. I really don't think they're too strong. I think maybe he has a biased opinion because he's a good Ranger player and he could really use the kit to its full like
Mhm.
efficiency. But I think like your average Ranger player, I think they feel very average, and that's good. I
Yeah.
see a Ranger and
The
I'm not
average
like
player
terrified
should feel
anymore.
average. Yeah, I'm with you
Yeah.
on that.
I
Yeah,
think they're in a good spot.
we can find a way that the average players feel pretty average, the good players feel good, the great players feel great, and the crappy players feel like they could get to average with a little bit more effort. That's about all you could ask from a game, really.
That's what you want. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Like, couldn't have said it better myself.
all right, so patches dub hotfix was almost a dub. We'll have to reconvene next week to deal with this +2 all ad situation and more.
Hmm.
And the candy is probably gonna be really nice. But moving forward, do we talk about tournaments a little bit and then do a little
We
Q&A with
should.
chat?
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
so I love that this is actually Dark and Darker officials first tournament, right? Everything else was community done. We had the rested
Right.
XP from like the World of Warcraft
So
people.
I'm unaware. I don't know anything about this format. So you're going to talk to me like I'm a child.
Okay,
Explain.
so the upcoming tournament is only for Dark and Darker's partnered creators. This is called the Troubadour rule in the official Discord. There's something like 400 of us, maybe a bit more, and only Troubadours are invited. You have to form a team of 3 amongst the Troubadours, and then we will be doing a 5-round kill race in High Roller to determine who makes it to the qualifiers. So this is like open qual. The top 16s in 5 rounds of kills will go forward to the actual tournament, which is going to be a bracket of 16 going down until there's only one left. And so I
Okay.
think at that point we get private lobbies and whatnot, maybe.
Hmm.
But so far, for sure, teams of 3 will be in High Roller competing over 2 days, October 13th to the 14th.
Yep.
So I'm ready to go. I've already got a team in mind, building it up. We're gonna start scrimming. The thing is, it's Dark and Darker featuring Madrinas, which we've already know they worked with them a bunch. They've got the coffee, the in-game emote, etc. But this is big. This is Dark and Darker coming in. The devs are talking about it. They're inviting us all to play, and so I think I'm hoping that we get some high quality stuff and then access to the private servers again, because then
Now,
we'll really
what's
see.
the date? What's the date on this tournament? Curious.
13th,
Um,
14th.
The open quals are the 13th and 14th for the Troubadours, I believe, and then we'll go forward from there to like the actual tournament.
I'm not a
Oh,
troubadour.
really?
So
You
I'm
think
lucky.
that's just the first phase, huh?
Maybe I'd have to investigate.
Okay.
Maybe the actual tournament is the 13th to 14th, and we qual till then. I don't know the exact dates offhandedly. I'm just
Mm.
excited because it's something to look forward to, and now the Dark and Darker will make official announcements toward it.
Yeah.
My thought is that the more of this that Dark and Darker gets involved in and outside companies, the closer we are to maybe this being more like a little bit like Fortnite, where we have like a season, maybe we have points. The game works well with that format, right? Like, let's say, with what Nate wanted earlier, we can do Crypt Arena, and you get points for like sub boss kills, player kills, and a boss kill, and your like points are tracked instead of like a leaderboard. and then over the course of the season, the best, like, I don't know, 100 players get to go to a tournament. I like stuff like that. I love it. I'm a Fortnite player in a Rocket Blade Point, and then if we get Twitch rivals involved, it's just, I don't know, it's something fun, something I'd be interested in.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a step in the right direction. If like Iron Mace is actively now they're pushing tournaments because
Mhm.
tournaments are great in this game. This game is fun to watch, it's fun to play, and now that Iron Mace is like getting their skin in the game, that's a huge dub in my opinion.
Yep.
I got to figure out how to sign up for this tournament because I'm a little interested. I'm not normally like a tournament kind of guy, but like now that it's like more official and like Iron Mace is doing it, I'm like, okay, now you piqued my interest. I might get involved and throw some fireballs at some people. We'll see.
So Josh, I think you're right. It
Yeah.
says so basically you run 5 high roller games straight. It does say straight. You run a session of 5 high roller games straight and you record all your kills. Has to be live streamed or recorded. I think it says live streamed, at least one person from the team. And all kills must be visible. Submit your recordings. The top 16 teams will move on to the semifinal bracket. So I think your interpretation there is right. So that is weekend number 1 of the tournament. But yeah, so I guess the big takeaway though that we all agree on is that it is awesome to see Iron Mace playing a role in driving tournament play. Now, what Madrinas's role is not quite clear to me. It just says we'll be teaming up with Madrinas for an official Dark and Darker tournament. I'm curious who they're going to get to cast it. We need to get our boy Odin in there. Odin needs to be on that cast staff.
Agreed.
For sure. Although he might be
just
playing.
want
He's
knowledgeable
a troubadour,
casters.
right? Is Odin
I
a
believe
troubadour?
he is a
I should know
troubadour.
that. Okay.
I think so. I should know that too. But
I've run a few
well, I
raids
thought
with him.
Ken
He's
was
good
too.
people.
I was very surprised that one of the top ranked, you know, wizards in the world and Twitch full-time streamer.
I don't even know what a troubadour is, bro. What
They play music.
Oh my gosh.
They play music in the skulls of their enemies.
I'm a simple man. I wake up,
Unbelievable.
I put OBS on, and I hit the go live button, and I play video games. I don't know what this troubadour stuff is, dude. There's a tournament I'm interested. I mean, I'll go figure it out. I'll figure out a way to get in there. Who's on your team, so bad? Who's on your team?
So far I'm playing with Apollo, and then I invited Jay Griffia, but he said he's going to think about it.
He's probably available. I already turned down him in Repose. I got too many offers over here.
Yeah. Well, like the thing is, I don't want to play with the best. I want to play with people I'm comfortable with, and so you know, I'll play with Nate if he was a troubadour.
Oh, because I'm not the best. All right.
Yeah. You're washed up.
Yeah, I'm washed.
I saw you on Warlock. All right, you're not a wizard main anymore. Everyone's a Warlock main. It is fun though. Like
Warlock's so much fun.
In pre-lobby, there's just Hydras all over the place. Everyone's just like beaming with the darkness. It's really fun.
Dude, I got like 20 confirmed flame feet kills. Okay, it's
nice. Yes.
It's walking on. It's so much fun.
Good news on the way.
Chat is popping off, like talking about some of these gear changes. I'm a little worried. I'm gonna be honest. I'm almost scared to log in right now because I don't want it to be true.
My only thought is that we're kind of weak. Like earlier, I hit a guy with Blow of Corruption, a purple Bardiche that statted. I hit him 3 times, once in the head, and he survived. And I was like, what? Like,
because like we were just talking about like how nice these long drawn out fights are. Not getting one shot by Rangers is not getting one shot by fireballs, but like just adding all this damage back to gear will change that instantly, and that's concerning.
That is a danger. I agree. We'll reconvene next week and rant about it. You want to get back in there? All right, let's take three quick questions from chat.
Sure thing.
All right, chat, hit us with the Q&As.
Any good questions? Because I am worried, baby.
Are you sure they're not trolling you?
Yeah, the only thing I'll say is that due to our weakness, I like +2 all I wouldn't mind. It's just how much will they scale it? 'Cause people are also saying there's +4 weapon damage on a battle axe. I don't know.
Someone in chat said there's like +3 will, +5 magic power, +3 additional magic damage, leather leggings for 65 candy.
All right, I'm getting some
sure,
of that in chat too.
2 days of being weak. Let's do 2 days of being insanely strong, and then let's meet in the middle. You know, in like 2 days from now.
Right.
We'll re-hotfix the hotfix.
Well, they did say they were going to play with the dials a little bit more. So
reverted the reversion.
This feels like a massive shift rather than a little tweaking. Yeah, +2 all in the store and +4 weapon damage is what Drake Austin is saying over here. That's something.
+4 weapon damage, third bow on the jack-o'-lantern, dude. All right.
My chat said that the gear gap test is the same as the war on drugs in America.
0 or 100, dude. It's just
Yeah.
that's been my one.
right.
That's been my one gripe with Iron Mace. It's like either they completely gut something, or it's just the most overpowered thing. It's just all gas, no brakes, or all brakes, no gas, and there's no in between. They don't have a soft hand, and it's starting to become a bit of a problem, I think, because this
I
is like
liked the way
game
it felt
breaking.
today. Today
As
was
long
nice.
as they
Like the
don't,
+1
as
alls
long
and
as they stop doing it by the end of early access, I think they'll be okay. I think this may be part of the strategy is like go to these very wide extremes for data collection purposes so that they can apply math that I can't do and figure out how to dial it in. But I'm with you because, or I understand your point at least that this just that walking it back and then reverting the walk back just feels like something is not right. But maybe
I
the
feel like I'm in
justification,
Groundhog's Day.
well, and maybe the justification, let me steel man their side of it a little bit. Maybe the justification is that they get to tweak everything back to the higher end because armor is so much better now. And maybe they saw something in the first 24 hours that said, okay, time to kill is now out of control. It's way too long, or there's one specific imbalance or class we need to address. Or here's certain armor that's being abused. I don't know. I guess I'm being overly generous at this point, but I definitely understand the perspective on it. But this does seem like a lot.
It's just because they've like been very vocal about saying how they want to lower time to kill and they want the game to be slower, and they were actively going in that direction, and it felt
Right.
good. Like the
Yep.
patch wasn't perfect. There were some issues, right? But like the time to kill wasn't the problem. I think like the gear and the time to kill were some of the better changes they made, and then them to like not even 48 hours later, not even revert, like go in the other direction. Like there is more damage in on gear now than there
Mhm.
was 48 hours ago when it was already a problem, which is
Right.
just crazy to think that they would do that.
Yeah.
It almost makes me think that it was a mistake or something, but I don't know.
all right. It's a
I
battle
don't
royale
either.
again.
So one of the questions we're getting from the chat, old Big Skillet is asking if we believe the arrows slow is really the true problem with Rangers, other than traps. So the arrow 30% redux, I think, ish when you get hit.
It's frustrating, but if we want ranger damage to be low, I think the slow is necessary. Whereas if I think if you
Agreed.
want it to be the other direction, if you want the damage to be high, then you get rid of the slow. But I don't think you would have high damage and big slow.
I think
But
it's
I think
still the slow is too high. I think you got to cut the slow down. Like if who was
You
it
should have
was
to
saying
perk
this
for
the other
it.
day? Somebody was saying this very recently. It might have been Spuddy, but that doesn't seem right because it was someone that used a bigger weapon. Whoever it was saying that if you get hit with a long sword or a bardiche, like a heavy ass weapon, and the slow is like 20% or 15%, I can't remember what it is, but an arrow does 30%, like something's out of whack there. So yeah, I think it could be lowered. So I'm with you. I think there's a nice sweet spot there. So lower the damage a little bit. I think the damage is probably dialed in now at this point, but keep the damage where it's at. So if we say ranger longbows are okay, quick shots okay, just damage across the board is not too bursty. Just lower that slow down to 15%, cut it in half, maybe in 20, start with 20%, probably go down to 15. Then ranger's in a sweet spot, in my opinion.
yeah, I like it because getting slow is very frustrating. There's nothing
Yeah.
worse in this game where like the movement is so fun and like a big part of the gameplay. You're just getting hit and
Yeah.
just can't move anymore.
Yep.
It's like I said, I always talk about feel bad moments. It is a feel bad moment to get slowed down by an arrow from a mile away, and then because you got slowed, now you're getting hit by the next arrow is so much easier. So
Oh
yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
What do you get with that first arrow, then like the next one's way easier to get hit by, and then you're basically dead if you're in the open.
Right.
But like that is the ranger strong suit. So maybe you can make certain bows do different slows, or make it just so when you hit legs, it slows you.
Right.
Because like, so they have to choose between going for the high damage headshot or the high slow leg shot. Like make them give the players choices. I think giving players choices is always a good thing.
Yep.
But yeah, that's just my 2 cents on it.
Agreed. What do you guys
But
got
yeah, I
from
think-
your chats over there? What are they asking? Or are
Mm,
they
chat
just
mostly a lot of
talking gear?
Everyone's talking about gear.
Yeah,
Everyone's talking about
gear.
gear. Yeah, everyone's molding. I get it though. If I'm probably gonna be molding too. It was a nice podcast.
It was a
while
good
it
podcast,
lasted,
gents. Yeah,
While it lasted,
lots of
and then
optimism.
lots of optimism. Now just to be all torn down with one swift
Very
swing of the hammer.
surprised. I really expected just some like light changes, and then the jack-o'-lantern now has epics, maybe a couple Legos for candy, and then like get back in there. And now it's like, why is everything boosted again? I don't know. I liked TTK, so we'll just have to hope that maybe if everybody has +2 all and everybody has access to +4 to 5 power for like 70 or 100 gold, everybody will be kind of geared, and the fights will be somewhat similar than what they were 3 hours ago.
If everybody is access to it, it's not going to be it's a different problem. Like
It's a
everyone will
different
be
problem.
on that same level, but then the time to kill issue, everyone, it's basically who gets the first hit, and that's not a fun way to play either. I think that's not good. I like if somebody gets to jump on me, okay, I can now react, and if I can have the opportunity to outplay them, I can do it. But sometimes if you just get hit and you get hit by 90% of your HP, or sometimes 100%, the fight's over. It's over. You don't have time to react, and you're just back on the loading screen, and that feels bad for everybody. Like even if you're the person doing that, like that's not a fun fight. Like the best fights in the game are like the back and forth where eventually you come out on top. Or even recently, like even when I'm losing fights, if I get a good fight out of it, if I get like a good 30-second to like 2-minute exchange with a team and I lose, I'm like, oh,
yeah.
All right, well I lost, but that was sick. Like that was good. But those have been my fights recently, and I want more of it. I really do.
I love those. I tell my chat all the time, I love losing, and if you ever hear me mad, then in my opinion, in that moment, that is something that I feel like needs a balancing change. And the only one I've had this wipe so far was Ranger Trap twice. I'm like, dude, he probably would have beat me anyway, but now I feel bad. Like, what the fuck? And so hopefully, like I think it's on the chopping block. Like it can't stay forever. Like the rogue thing, I think initially a lot of people are like, no, it's fine, and then eventually they're gonna be like, wait, actually this is not that great because it's already a strong class. And so we will see where we go with that. But this has been a great podcast, guys. Lots of good changes on the way. Obviously, a great start to the wipe. Lots of cool crafting mats, cool gear squish, at least a couple hours ago. More bosses.
Nice while it lasted.
Nice while it was lasted. My chat also asked, do some maps need a gear boost? I think with the fact that they just hotfixed it, and now that we have sub bosses and bigger chests, guaranteed
huge.
better loot, and candy is now here with better loot able to be purchased, I think we're going to be good to go.
All
Boys,
right.
let's get some more gameplay in our belts, and we'll have more to talk about either on the Darkest Hour podcast with Soma and Jay, or next week's weekly Hold the Line.
Yeah. Stay tuned for that, guys. I don't think it's still up in the air. Soma's been a little bit under the weather, so we had originally planned to be on the Darkest Hour podcast and do a full crossover episode on Tuesday. That was the original plan, but we got a little delayed. So there is still a big question mark looming in the air for whether or not we're going to be on the Darkest Hour. I think they're planning to host it tomorrow night, so we may or may not be on there. But yeah, if it doesn't happen tomorrow, it's definitely going to happen in the very near future. Like Josh said, we'll definitely be back at it. Normal bat time, normal bat channel, unless we're doing the crossover episode with them next week.
All right. Well, I think that's a good place to end it, boys. I can't wait to get back in there and molding over these changes. But
all right,
guys. See you next week.
All right, Nate. Stay off my
Thanks
warlock,
and
I better not see you in my goblin caves. All right.
Later.